Wagwan!
Que lo que, mi gente?
Welcome to the
Message to You podcast,
where we casually have
not so casual conversations
on topics that force us to keep it real
with ourselves and those we are around.
Our mission is to shed light on
The importance of embracing your true self,
being okay with acknowledging quirks,
workable flaws, and accomplishments.
So if you're into business,
all things creative,
personal growth, and life hacks,
then you're in the right place. Let's go.
Let's get it.
Wait, we should.
What?
Okay, we could just cut it, huh? Cheers. Cheers.
Come on. I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, it's like worth living, should I blast myself? I'm tired of being 40, go work some blasters on the dirt, so I'm looking for a purpose now.
It's over.
Let's give a damn about a heat, bro. Pull a trigger, kill a nigga, he's a heat, bro. Get it back to the kids who the hell.
A chilly night? This is hidden.
Is it chilly?
Is it not?
I don't know. I think so.
Where are you?
Under my covers.
Got it.
Yeah.
Clearly.
All right, we started.
Let's get it.
Okay.
So,
welcome to the Message to You podcast for
episode 2.
I was gonna say season 2. I'm like
Netflix.
so ahead of the game. Welcome back. I'm happy to be here.
Very much so.
How's your tea doing today?
Slapping. Everything. It's a little lemon ginger.
Lemon ginger.
Lemon ginger. You know, the change of the season. Ooh. You see that? You see what we did there?
Is that a foreshadow?
I think so.
So
So should we drop it on them now?
Let's drop it. So today's topic is the season of outgrowing.
And we have a little subsection to that, and it's isolation versus solitude, the difference, the similarities. Yeah, so let's get into it.
Okay, cool.
Right?
Yep. So, season of outgrowing. That's honestly been something that I've experienced maybe the last 3 years of my life. I think I didn't know what that was before, or if I did, I didn't have a name for it, or I didn't understand it, or it just wasn't, is it apparent? No, it wasn't like in my face.
Yeah.
So, season of outgrowing is, to say the least, a tough pill to swallow. It's such a blessing, but it's very bittersweet.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going around what I'm trying to say, but like those are the emotions I get whenever I think of the season of outgrowing. It's for the betterment of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's leaving certain things, certain habits, certain people behind, even though you really don't want to. I think it's something that you're just kind of forced to do. But how do you feel about this season of outgrowing?
I also agree that it is something that we're forced to do for personal growth. Because if we view ourselves like as we're growing and as we're developing, as we're trying to figure certain things out about ourselves, if we see ourselves as like a newborn baby, like we're feeding ourselves new information that we might not have known before, or we might be receiving the same information but with a different type of mindset. And now it's so important for us to nurture that, and not have things that will mess with that in our direct in our direct environment. So like with a newborn baby, what we do is we don't bring anyone around a newborn until they have all their immunizations, right? Like we have to treat ourselves that same way in this season. It's so important for us to just nurture that. You know, like it's so easy for other people, for outside sources that are not going through the same changes that you need to personally go through, to just come in and just put a damper on everything that you just poured into yourself. So it's necessary, but then at the same time, we can't neglect the people that we care about the most. Yeah. So it's like finding that balance is so necessary, but then at the same time, when do you decide that you need to find that balance? When do you decide you could start sprinkling in some more time with those people?
Yeah.
Or like start sprinkling in some more leisure time, or do you even get to have leisure time? Like, what does this mean? What does this look like? How does it, play out? Does it play out the same for everybody? I think so much comes with it that we could just like, address now, I guess.
Yeah. As far as what? Wait.
I guess I just said a lot, right?
Yeah, kind of. Like it was sauce, but
God. What? When you drink something and it's like stuck in your throat, and
but
then
it's
just
tea.
like, I know, but it was just. It wasn't the fact that it was tea. It wasn't the fact that it was tea. It was just the fact that I sounded like a frog for like 2 seconds.
Love that.
Yeah.
Ribbit.
So sexy.
Wait, ribbit?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
What animal or is that it?
I said ribbit and I thought rabbit, but
it.
yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I definitely feel that outgrowing for me is it's a difficult thing to do, because I still want to hold on to those things that made me comfortable. I still want to hold on to those memories that I had with that person, and like the relationships we had years ago. Like, oh my gosh, but in high school, like we were, we were so close, we were so this, we were so that, but things are not aligning at this point. And it's never, well, I don't want to say never, but it's no love lost at all.
Right.
Like, it is no love lost. Half the time I don't even want to let you go. Like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. But like, life just forces you to make certain moves that make you feel uncomfortable, to make certain moves. And then I always question, like, but why? But there's always a reason, you know? You never know. It could be the person you love the most that's kind of holding you back from where it is you need to go. But what's so beautiful about outgrowing people, or in that season of outgrowing, as long as I think the relationship is forever, like you guys didn't leave off in bad terms, it's like, let me try to stop saying like, as long as you guys didn't leave off on bad terms, it's almost as if this is gonna be so difficult.
You got this. I'm gonna try to stop saying
Oh, as I just said,
well, it happens.
Oh my goodness. What's up, guys? We're back. Okay. It's like, let me grind. Let me go through this season. Because I still love you. Like I said, no love lost. Let me go through this season so that way I could come back and share with you the fruits of my labor. We do these things. Because we outgrow certain people, it doesn't mean that, oh, you don't align with what I have going on, so you stay over there, I stay over here. It's like, no, for a short amount of time, let me just have my tunnel vision. Let me grind. I'm sorry if I take a little bit longer to answer your text messages. I'm sorry if I don't answer your calls. I'm sorry if I, like, you don't hear, you just don't hear from me from time to time. There's a reason. It's not just for whatever. And then a lot of the time, how do I say this? A lot of the times people are just not going to understand it.
Yeah.
And people are going to get their feelings hurt. People are going to feel like you've changed. You've switched up.
Right.
But you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. There is a little bit of, like, selfishness that goes into it. But it's also a self-awareness journey and process that you go through with all of this. So 100%. I say all of that to say it is a very bittersweet thing to do. Yeah. But it is more sweet than not at the end of it all.
Right. Like, in the process, it might not feel as good because you might be hurting people. Like, other people might be like temporary collateral damage. Right. And we don't mean for it to be, but it just so happens that it is, because not everybody understands that, and people do tend to take things personally. So in the end, once we actually start seeing results from all the things that we've been grinding towards, then we'll be like, this was for you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like you tend not to want to let go of certain things, and I think that I have that, but then also too, I know that I can be a very detached person. So like sometimes when people don't get it, I'm like, all right, you don't get it. So
it's true.
Yeah, and it's not, I don't know that that's always an appropriate response. I don't know that that's always okay. But then it's also like you can't always focus on trying to cater to people's feelings. So it's like, again, that word balance that just keeps coming back up, because sometimes I do feel like I'm a bit too detached. Like I can be, I don't know, I can be like, we could be close. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know where I was going with that thought. I'll forget it.
It's all good.
Just
It'll
scratch
come back. No, it'll come back.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of dangerous because it can be addicting, that feeling of, yo, I'm in momentum, I'm grinding right now, my phone, like, I'm not even paying attention to it, I'm not posting on Instagram, I'm not on it, like sometimes that becomes comforting. That feels good. And then I find myself having to make conscious decisions to be like, let me talk to so and so, let me call, let me pick up the phone, because like you said, balance again. You don't want to be so left field that you're neglecting and forgetting the people that you care about at the end of the day. Regardless of if you need this moment for yourself, you still check up on people. Life is way too short, and honestly, the past 2 years,
crazy
has
literally
definitely
insane.
shown us very much that.
Right.
You know, so if sometimes I do think in this season of outgrowing people, still, if it crosses your mind to like, oh, I wonder how so-and-so is doing, send a quick message, boom, whatever. But the problem is now then people think that you're available. Now people think that,
right.
you know, they FaceTime you right away. They'll be like, oh, shoot.
Don't do that.
Oh, Jen, they call you. And I'm like, no. Like, listen, like what happened was that I was doing something and you crossed my mind.
Literally.
Because maybe in the process of me being so focused, I'm thinking about all the things that we're going to accomplish, all the things that I'm going to be able to provide for you, the life that I want to give for, you know, for you guys. So I'm like, oh, let me see how they're doing. Hey, missed you, love you, like, hope everything is okay. But that doesn't always mean that we're just going to chop it up for the next 20 hours, for the next, you know.
Even the next 5 minutes sometimes, it's like
sometimes
not a thing.
I know, and then sometimes I feel like I don't want to be that way, but then a lot of the times I feel like it's so necessary.
Yeah.
But then I don't want this to make it seem like I don't want people to talk to me, or I don't want people to like text me or reach out or whatever. That's not the case. But it's just, I know a lot of people who are instant repliers. I know a lot of people who literally get hurt about the fact that they haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
In 24 hours or in 20 minutes, you know? And that's just something that sometimes I feel like I can't keep up with.
Yeah. Sometimes for those people, like, more so now, I would say for those people, I do try to make a conscious effort of doing a little bit more for them. Because I know that certain things are important to certain people. And so there are friends that I have, like family members, that just, we're at a certain level where I'm just like, you know what, I could take an extra however many minutes for you, because you need this kind of loving. And then I just drop in that reminder that's like, yo, okay, this was this time, but this doesn't mean that it's going to be like every single day.
Yeah.
If someone's going through a season where they need it, like they like just need someone there,
we're definitely
fairly often, right?
Yeah.
You know, we are the type of people to just constantly, you know, do that. It's a sacrifice that you make for people that you care about. But then at the same time, on the regular, if we're not talking about anything, we're not talking about anything.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to drag on unnecessary conversations. And again, it's not to say that these things don't matter, but these little conversations that we're having right now, we can be having on a beach somewhere when we are flown out across seas. once we're reaping the benefits of the things that we've been grinding for, we can now talk about whatever nonsense we want in the setting of our choice.
Yeah.
You know, like it just makes it all worth it. Right now is not the time to be getting upset with people over them trying to do what's better for all of us. Mm-hmm. It's one thing if they completely neglect you in your time of need. It's one thing if they completely just, I don't know if they're disrespectful to you, but if you know someone's heart, if you know someone's intentions towards you, like, it's so difficult for me to, like, accept people who will be like, oh, you're fake, you've changed, you've done this. And I'm like, those are the people that make me easily accept that we might not be friends.
It's like, are we supposed to stay the same forever? Talking about you changed. Thank you. Like,
right.
Thank you.
Right. And if
I've worked hard for it.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. And if me not replying to you or not replying to, like, your funny video that you just sent to me until, like, a week later, if that means that, like, my heart, I don't value you, I don't value our friendship, then you don't know me, and we don't need to be doing this.
Right. It's true. So when do you think it's isolation versus solitude?
So, I don't know if it's just me personally, but it just took me mad long to put that mug down.
I know, you're trying to not make noise.
Right. Trying not to do a little ASMR. But,
right.
The words themselves to me already sound what they are. You know, like, to me, isolation sounds a little cold. Solitude sounds a little more peaceful. And those are the things that come to mind when I think of those two words. Isolation is like a form of loneliness to an extent. And then solitude is a place where you're alone, but you're not necessarily lonely. You're alone, but you're at peace with this state of being. Yeah. You can find a lot of, like, key moments about yourself in solitude. I think it's reflection. I think it's a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, isolation definitely gives me, like, a more sad girl vibe. Like,
a melancholy.
Yeah, you know, like, I think isolation and I think of a lonely little cutesy girl in the corner of her room just looking out the window.
Not in the corner of her room.
Just looking out the window, watching the rain just go like this. Emo. Not emo. No, but seriously, I think there is a loneliness to isolation. But is that because that's just what we picture it to be? Or, you know, is it just you being by yourself? Like, is it no other context that goes with it? But as far as solitude, when I think of solitude, I don't always think of being alone. I think of you being able to be in solitude, I guess, like, in solidarity with other people, or like you and I could be in solitude together. Right. Because we're grinding, we're working on the same thing. We are, again, outgrowing people. Right. at our own, you know, right. rate, at our own whatever. Right. So solitude is a little more productive, I think. And like you said, self-reflection and self-awareness. And I think a lot of good comes out of being in solitude. Whereas isolation, maybe sometimes I think that I could be reaching, but sometimes I feel like something traumatic might have happened where you need to be by yourself, or you're up in the mountains in isolation, but it's like, but why? Right. You know, like, why are you there? Is it because you just need to find inner peace? Is it because you just need something different from your daily lives? Yeah. You know, I think in solitude you can kind of balance your everyday life, but also having that moment of being in grind mode. Right. You know, isolation is kind of like excommunicating yourself from people, or not wanting to speak to people, because it's not a matter of us not wanting to speak to people. Right. If we're speaking to people, we're trying to speak to people who are conducive to our growth, who can, like, help us out to, you know, to get to the next level or whatever it is. Even though I don't want to make it sound like those relationships between, like, your cousins and your friends and, you know, the fun you have and all of that, that is also very important. Right. Extremely important. But I do feel like being in solitude is, a little more productive or something like that.
I could see that. And if we even think about situations where the terms are used, or I'm thinking more specifically like isolation, when people are in prison, they put them in isolation. When someone's in the hospital and they need to be put in a room by themselves,
away
they put
from
them
people
in isolation. So, I mean, in jail they do say solitary confinement, right?
Yeah,
but I think more so, I think isolation when I think of, just being put in a place that's lonely.
Right.
And I do see exactly what you mean as far as like solitude and being able to be in solidarity with someone else or other people around you who just understand. Like, it's just a certain level of peace that you can all accomplish together. Yeah.
So I guess our next question we could get into is, how does it make you feel when people do not understand the season you're going through? When people feel like we said, you switched up, or how come you don't talk to me, or what, you think you too good to hang out anymore, you think you too good to pick up the phone or whatever.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when people just don't understand?
I think it varies.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it hurts. Sometimes I'm like, I don't care. Sometimes I'm like, I want to clarify that. Like, I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the placement of this, like my placement in this season.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you're in a season, it doesn't mean that you're in the same level of the season at every point in time, if that makes sense. I guess we'll get into that a little bit more. But I think my answer overall is that it varies. Like, I can't give one overall answer to say I'm always like, yeah, it's fine because I'm grinding, because that's not true.
Right. It's not.
Sometimes
some of them hurt a little more.
Yeah, sometimes it weighs heavy on me and I'm like losing sleep. I'm like, damn, I don't want them to think that. But then I'm like, but how much am I going to be walking around trying to carry this person's feelings? Because if I've explained it once, and explained it twice, and by the third time they still don't understand, I'm like, this is still hurting me. Like, what route do I go? Do I just stop speaking? Because if someone's not listening, why am I still speaking? Or do I really just try to like throw it out there one more time and then leave it? Like,
it could go so many ways.
Yeah, it's hard, but my solid answer would be that it depends on the person.
Yeah, I definitely think when people don't understand, sometimes I'm like, oh, because I'm like, it not that it bothers me, but you just don't get it yet. Or it hasn't really been presented to you where you've had to do that.
But yet,
what?
Like, what if someone just never really, like, when do you think they would get to it?
No, I don't know. I think life, because a lot of people are very complacent. A lot of people are very comfortable. I have friends from like elementary school and middle school who love y'all to death, but they still in the same exact place. And I think it's because they have not outgrown certain habits. They have not outgrown the people they're around. They have not left where they grew up at. They're just there because it's comfortable. And I think it's a matter of the people that they're exposed to. It's who are they listening to? It's like, why we grew up in the same neighborhood. So why do I feel like because I'm not where I want to be, but I can definitely confidently say that I am steps ahead from where I was years ago. Yeah. Like, sometimes I hear myself speak, or even my parents will be like, Jen, is that you talking? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's like it's reg dag. Like, I woke up like this.
You did.
But I didn't. Like, because you make the conscious effort to seek more and outsource, and because you are going to tell me the same thing, not you, but like the people that I've grown up with, is like, you're going to tell me the same thing that I would probably tell myself when I was back, like if I was in that stage.
Right.
But because I started listening to people, I started just reading a lot more, watching certain videos and podcasts, you kind of just, your mind stretched so much that it filters out certain people in your life, and that's another very bittersweet moment, because it's like, I'm coming back for you. Like, I am coming back for
That's a
you.
fact.
But for right now, either you're gonna join me and really like just join the grind, or go at your pace, because I'm also not the one to be like, you should be grinding 24/7, lose sleep if you really want it. A lot of people don't know, you know, it still hasn't hit them, like what it is that they want to do. People just out here trying to make money, like whatever that means to them. People are out here like, yeah, I want to be an actress, I want to be an actor, I want to do this and that. But we kind of touched on this in the first episode. I keep trying to say season. In the first episode.
Speaking into being.
Where, yeah, that, I forgot where I was going, but how does it make me feel? Like you said, it varies. Sometimes I'm like, I really wish you would understand so that this process could be just a little bit easier, because like I said, it'd be the people closest to you that are like, you don't even pop out to family parties, you don't even go here and do, you don't. And I'm like, oh my goodness, because even though I love me some quality time, but sometimes when I'm just like in that zone, I feel I can't even enjoy myself. I can't even be present in those spaces sometimes, because I'm like, damn, I should be doing something else. Yeah. Like when I went to DR, I mean, you were there, but but when I went
they weren't, let them know.
Huh?
They weren't there, let them know.
Exactly. Well, I went to DR and I went to a club, and I literally posted on my story like, when you're at the club, but you're over here thinking about, I don't remember what I wrote. You're over here thinking about your next trade, or the books that you should be reading, or the business plan that you're supposed to set up.
Right.
But it was real life. Like, people were cracking up at it, but I'm like, this is real life. Yeah. Like, I couldn't even, I mean, I did my quick 2-step. Like
obviously.
You know what I'm saying? I did a little spin, my little presidente. Like, it was cute. But at the same time, I was like listening in on these conversations, and I'm like
what are we talking
I don't really want to sit at this table. Like, what else?
Right.
Like, what else? Like, I could literally be doing something right now that would move the needle forward just a little bit for my business, for our lives, my family, the same people that I'm sitting at this table with. Right. And they are such motivations. I'll look at them and I'm like, you guys don't even know.
Does it ever, like, because for me personally, I get this feeling, but do you ever just feel anxious? Like, all being out and just knowing, like, yo, why am I here?
All the time.
I could literally be mapping something out. I could have jump-started something else. Like,
and sometimes, and a lot of the times, I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, I want to be okay with being like, put that to the side, enjoy this moment right now.
Right.
And again, balance. Like, sometimes I think you do need to just chill out for a second. Yeah. Just chill out. But, yo, I'm telling you, when you're in momentum, it's hard to break from that. Like, you be looking at people and you're just like, can I go home? Or, like, what else are we talking about? Like, I have, like, be the Netflix.
Right.
I'm not trying to watch Netflix. Honestly. Be the Netflix.
Honestly.
But, yeah.
Nah.
I hope y'all feel me. I hope you understand.
So, with all of that being said, like, would you say that these feelings, or like this season that we keep talking about, is like a continuum, or do you think it's like short fragments of time? Like, are you always in this season, or do you think you'll be in a season for like 2 weeks? You'll be like, is that what that means? Like, what do you think that means?
I think I think it is a continuum in a sense.
Like, your season didn't end when you jumped on the plane and went to DR. You still felt what you felt.
Exactly.
When you got there. So, like...
And I think as you grow and as you, keep moving forward, there are going to be even more people who come into your life that you're going to have to outgrow, But I want to think that at some point I can just relax. But that's the goal. That's the goal, to just be in an environment, in a place where everyone around me, like, we're all just there. Like, I don't have to think about anything. People don't make you feel guilty for grinding, because you're in places where people are going even harder than you. Right. You're in places where you're just constantly inspired.
Right.
like, it's just a different kind of environment. But I do want to think that at some point I just want to stop outgrowing people.
Right.
I don't know how realistic that is if we're constantly meeting people and networking and doing all these things.
Yeah.
But at some point I do want to just chill.
Yeah.
And not always be like grinding. Okay, you're trickling off.
Yeah.
Grinding. Okay, you know, like,
yeah. Yeah. I think that it's different when you're with people who are also trying to grow, because then it's not, oh, you go do that thing that you're always doing because you're doing the most. It's let's go do that.
Can we talk
thing.
about the doing the
Yeah,
most? Realistically.
So the narrative is now, when we're around these people, the narrative is let's go do the most. Like, let's go to the gym. Let's go for that hike. Let's go take that trip to Fiji because we can casually this weekend, and let's go have that event that we just thought of last night while we were sipping on wine, sipping on mojitos, whatever our drink of choice was that night, that we thought up some genius plan to just put people on, or just like be in a room full of elevation. Let's go do that.
Yeah. Instead
of that being like, so like, oh, that would be nice, or watching other people do it, we're then in surroundings, we're then in atmospheres with people that actually just are like, let's go do it. You know, like, I think that we don't always have to be outgrowing people. I think we can be in a sense where we're growing together. And like, some of us might be staggered, but then at some point we're there, you know? And I think that that's where I want to be, so that it doesn't always feel like you have to just keep leaving people behind, so they have to just keep getting dropped off, because that doesn't feel good. And it's like, because we're such caring people, it doesn't matter what your mentality is, it's still gonna hurt, you know? We're still gonna feel that. So sure. Getting to the point where we're just constantly around people who just want more and know that it's possible to do more, and don't think, yo, y'all always doing something. You're always doing the most.
And you're not?
Right.
Wait, can we...
But why is it the most?
No, but can we talk about, real quick, intermission, can we talk about the people who are our age? Actually, I don't know. I don't want to offend people, because...
Let's offend them.
Okay.
Because you're not saying anything to be hurtful.
I'm not. My intentions are not that. But the people who are our age that be telling me that they're bored.
Oh.
A kid. I mean, like, I truly enjoy my company.
Yeah, same.
You know? Sometimes a little too much.
Right.
Sometimes I'd rather... It's dangerous. But I remember as a kid being so bored that I'd bring myself to tears, because I would force... Like, I'm like, maybe if I cry, my parents...
Are you drinking your tea?
Yeah, I am. I'm almost done. Maybe if I cry, my parents will, like, play with me. Like to that point, I'm like, oh, like, what am I gonna do?
It hurting like that.
Yeah, it hurts so bad. And so that's what I envision when grown adults be like, just laying in their bed like Tina from Bob's Burgers.
Oh my gosh.
Just like, I'm so bored. And I'm like, go be inspired. Go do something in the city. Like, we live in New York. Yeah. Like, you can always find ways to just stay inspired and do certain things. And like, I know that a lot of these people who are bored, they have something that they've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But they just don't know how to start.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I think now that we're talking about it too, I think that part of it could also be, those people might be used to being around people constantly. So when they're not around people, they don't know what to do with themselves.
That's true.
And I think
very dependent.
Right. And I think that in those moments, it's important to like kind of be like, all right, where's this feeling coming from? And I need to do something about it, because that's not really, like, it's not normal, because now you're possibly dependent on other people or their company to make you happy, to make you feel fulfilled. And that's a problem. And I think the term boredom is then displaced.
It's just so funny.
It's displaced, and now we're seeing it as that. But then when we really think about it, it's coming from something else. It's coming from that need to just have
It's
other
coming,
people
yeah.
around.
It could come from so much though.
Yeah.
And like we said, miswording it sometimes. Because I think you and I will joke around sometimes and be like, I'm so bored. And it is not making fun of it. It's literally, but when I really think about it, and I'm like, I'm not bored. That's not what it is. Because I have a lot to do, and there's a lot that I can get into. But it could be sad. Like I just feel very melancholy. I feel down for some reason, whatever reason it is. I don't have the motivation to go to the gym, because at the gym I don't really be bored, because I'm trying to just be in and out.
Right.
I mean, sometimes the gym gets boring, but that's another conversation.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Movement, activity, it don't really be boring. Even a walk by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not bored. So in those moments where I feel like I'm bored, quote unquote, I can get up and go for a walk, and I'll be okay and come back and, you know.
Right.
And then it's like it never happened. But my point is, I don't think boredom is always boredom. I think it's something a little more deeply rooted, a little more, maybe you're overwhelmed with so much that your body shuts down. I was just about to say
overwhelmed.
Yeah, maybe you're overwhelmed and your body's just like, oh, there's too much to think about right now. I'm just gonna lay here. And then like you get a little cloud of sadness, just a little bit, or you're just like very pensive.
You're rejecting.
And now you're bored.
Yeah.
You're telling yourself you're bored, and it's like, no, you have a lot to do, but you just don't.
Yeah.
You're not in the headspace to do it right now.
It's true. It's true. And I think that, again, the body's natural response, like we mentioned in the last episode, the body's natural response to things that make us feel uncomfortable, like being overwhelmed is a very uncomfortable feeling. Very. Like you reject it so much that now you're just like, I'm just gonna
lay here.
I'm just gonna not move.
Like those memes. It's like when you have all the work to do, you come home from work and you're like,
like
laid
does
out.
Nothing. I'm telling you, when I'm supposed to pack to go somewhere, I will do everything else but that.
She'll clean.
Literally, I will sit down with my big
plans.
sun hat. My big sun hat on, sit down and look through photo albums, because why? Because this is relevant to what right now? Like nothing makes sense. But but like I think the key thing in these moments is like just identifying where those feelings come from.
And it's like avoidance. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's cool. Like identifying where those feelings come from, and it only becomes easier to do that when we practice moments of solitude, or when we have moments of solitude.
And being okay with that.
Right. But then on the contrary, so we have people who like are not really that okay with being by themselves, but then what about the people who are too okay with being by themselves? Or is it there's such thing as being too okay with being by yourself?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think any extreme is
not okay.
Not okay. It's not okay. There are people who, I don't know, because we need some form of human interaction. Yeah. We need to speak to people. We need to feel, touch people. Like we need to.
Created to.
Exactly. So how could you see? How can you just always be by yourself? Yeah. And I guess this kind of brought up another question. Being by yourself, but like, how about people who love YouTube? I love YouTube, by the way, but people who love YouTube and they watch, mukbangs, or they watch other people because it makes them feel like they're with them. Do you think that people that feeds people, like that fulfills that human? I mean, you're not physically there. They could touch the screen, but like one that's actually weird. They'll be like, human interaction. They said we need, like, do you think that would actually fulfill certain things for people?
It does. It actually, because your brain doesn't really recognize things sometimes, and if you at that moment you're not seeking physical touch, your brain is still gonna get like certain signals sent to it that are gonna accept things that you would receive when you're with someone in person. So if you're watching a video to laugh and you're laughing with the people, it's because now you're interacting with it. It might not be a physical person, but like
you needed that. Like your body wanted that interaction, that form of interaction.
Literally.
That's like, I feel like I'm gonna forever be talking about mukbangs, and it's not okay because I was never this person. But people watch mukbangs a lot of the time because they don't want to eat alone. So when others, a lot of the times, I believe that if you're watching a mukbang, 9 times out of 10, you're also eating. Some people, like my friend, like Alana, shout out to you. She just be watching it. She literally just be there talking about, all right, I'm full. Off of mukbangs. Yeah. But no, seriously, like a lot of people have mukbang, make mukbang videos, and it's because they know that people, after a long day of work or for breakfast, they're just like, let me go sit and eat with someone.
Yeah.
And they pull up a mukbang video, and it's literally, and I've tried it, and it actually is, it fulfills something. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, like I can watch this, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then you finish your meal and you're just like, all right, nice talking to you.
Nice eating with you.
Right.
Great dinner.
But great dinner. But yeah, I don't know, did we get too off topic?
I don't remember where that came from, but I think it was good, and I think that it still goes with the idea that, like, isolation, solitude, you needing to kind of be around people or just have some sort of level of interaction, because that's normal.
Yeah.
Even though we have moments like this, even though we have seasons where we need to just, like, hone in, lock in, cut certain things out. Cutting things out also just means to minimize, not minimalize.
Minimalize.
Yikes.
Minimalization.
Minimize. I don't think it means to completely delete. Like, I think that sometimes you might need to, but I just think that minimize would be more so appropriate because, again, we're humans. Like, there's so many things that are constantly changing, evolving within us, that we just constantly need to feed ourselves in more ways than one. If we have a week where we're like, all right, this week I'm only gonna be responding to messages from 7 p.m. to like 10 p.m.
I love those.
Because the rest of the day, like, right. Because early in the day, I'm going to, like, focus on my mental. Then I'm going to get into stuff for my business. Then I'm going to go to work. And then once I get in, then I'll have that time to, like, respond to people. That's very much you still having that time to be like, all right, I'm locking in, I'm cutting out. But then you're still getting to those other things.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that plays a lot along the lines of boundaries, which I know that we're gonna get into on another episode.
Definitely.
But blocking out those times, and that's why, again with balance, yes, you can go so hard, but don't lose sight of why you're even going so hard. The very people who you're going so hard for can be distractions, but they can also be the inspiration to continue to keep you going.
That's a fact.
You know, so even setting those boundaries, like from 7, like, I don't know, you know, like just blocking off times and then being like, okay, guys, after this time, I'm available.
Right.
You know, after this, because your family member, it's not like they intentionally want to disrupt your whatever. They just like, they don't see what you see. They don't see where you're going just yet, you know? So them being like, hey Jen, can you go take the garbage out? Hey Jen, can you drive somewhere? Or yo sis, like pull up, like let's hang, like I haven't seen you in a minute. All those things, you know, it's so innocent. It's like, I don't, you know, they don't see anything wrong with it, but it's like you're kind of disrupting what I have going on.
My process.
Yeah, like it's literally like your thought process, your whatever you had laid out for yourself, it's a disruption of it. So now you're in this mental zone. You're in this like, and now something comes and distracts you, and now it's a little bit harder to get back into the zone. Right. So now some things have to be postponed till tomorrow, all because you wanted to be there for a loved one.
Right.
And whatever. But if you would have had those boundaries set already, like, yes, I will do this, but I'll do it after 7 p.m.
Yeah.
I will 100% get it done after 8 p.m. I'll 100% get it done after 5. And they respect that, then I think things would be a lot more easy flowing.
Agreed.
Yeah, so.
Agreed. No, I think that was kind of one of our last points. Like,
Yeah.
how do you find balance, if there is balance, in this season? And I think finding balance comes with, setting those boundaries, but then also seeing perspective. Like you said, as far as like those people that we might have to put on hold sometimes are also people that we can use to inspire us. A simple conversation from them can just remind us why we're doing what we're doing. And I think that sometimes, like, just tapping into that, even if we're so busy or we're having a moment at like the time or whatever it may be, just tapping into those people, like, it's just like, oh shoot, I was having a rough day. I was feeling like I didn't really want to do what I needed to do. I was feeling like I wanted to skip a day of my business process. And now I spoke to this person and I'm like, yo, you're going through this, and my plan is to make sure that you don't have to go through this anymore. So tomorrow, I don't have the choice but to execute what I was supposed to execute today if you didn't get it done today. So again, the balance comes from perspective, and the balance comes from putting boundaries on a situation. It comes from discipline, from us scheduling things out. And I think that, like, these things are easier said than done sometimes, because again, we're human. So then remembering that the environment that we're putting ourselves in and surrounding ourselves by is also another thing that's key. Because people say like discipline, people say scheduling is so important, and it is, but like, do we always follow that? You could have a set schedule. I know personally for me, sometimes I'll set my schedule for the week, and then I'm good for that week. The following week, I take one day and I don't set anything up. It's over for me. It's over for me. Everything is in shambles. Everything. Just like throw the papers in the air.
Not shambles.
Everything. Like, and then Jen can hit me up and be like, so what happened? Like, what's going on? My cousin, who's also another person, who will really like check me, she'll be like, yo, like, weren't you supposed to, so just having those people in this season too, like, it's just never a cookie cutter answer. It's always like different components that just make it a whole, which is why balance, it's never just one straightforward answer. We just have to consider things as they come. And I think that's probably one of the closing points before we, hit our message to you, and then like a little light, business tip, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe we should do the business tip.
Business tip now?
Business tip. Yep.
Yep. All right. So, as we mentioned before in our first episode, we mentioned that we have like a little background in business. So, something that I want you guys to definitely get some tea on is, I don't know if anyone's familiar with NFTs, non-fungible tokens.
Sweet baby NFTs.
Right. But they are booming right now. They are probably, I don't know if they're increasing in popularity, like more than crypto, or if they're right next to. But if you're familiar with crypto, you should also look into NFTs. If you're familiar with Tory Lanez, he actually sold his album as an NFT. So what that means is these tokens or these items are created, and there are only like a very specific amount that are created. So like, let's say I draw a piece and they're like collectibles, they're collector's items. So there are only 100 of those items. I sell them for $5. Once they're done, they're done. They're never going to be replicated. They're never going to be made again. And now you own it if you purchase it for that $5. Now people are taking those and flipping those. So we encourage you guys to look into NFTs. And if you're interested in something like that, you can actually download the app called Vivi, which is spelled VEVE. And that's some light tea. Just for you guys, because we're big in investing and we're big in making your money work for you. We're big in, just really always staying educated, just finding ways of you being able to just be good for your future self. So we're talking holistic, as we said before. So definitely look into NFTs. You can do your own research. I always encourage everybody to do their own research.
Yeah, definitely research it. And I think this is the perfect time to get into them and really do research, because as much as you may or may not hear it, it's a lot of people still don't know about it. So the earlier you get into the game, the better, because you'll just have a better reward, return on your investment afterwards.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah. And artists, people like artists, we're also selling our things as NFTs. Like, you could create music, sell it as an NFT. You can create a drawing piece, sell it as an NFT. So this is good for business in so many ways. So definitely, we are not financial advisors, but we do a lot of research. We do a lot of research, and we are in an investment space, so we do encourage you to look into that. So as we come to a close, what you want to say, girl?
Okay,
good.
So with that being said, our message to you, well, first of all, we hope you enjoyed.
Yeah,
we hope you really enjoyed this message. Like,
give us feedback, show us love.
Again, leave those comments down below. We love to read people's comments, them.
Yes.
And I'm gonna leave you off with, we're gonna leave you off with this. Our message to you is to honor your season with balance, though. Honor that season of outgrowing, but honor it with balance. Don't forget about the people you are even doing this for. Don't forget about the people who kind of gave you a stepping stone, because I think everyone in your life played a role. Everyone. So it's unfair to then be like, well, I'm gonna neglect you because you're just not on my level.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't, it's unfair. They played a part in the mindset that you have today, whether it be of what not to do, or whether it be of, something might have inspired something from the relationship you guys had, but definitely with balance. Don't take for granted those moments that you have now to spend with your family, because life is super, super short. But honor your season all at the same time, and don't feel guilty for it.
Right.
Because I think as long as your intentions are great, as long as you are doing this for a greater good, to help others and to serve, I think there should be no reason for you to be feeling guilty. So, yep.
100.
We good? We off this?
Over there.
All right, thank you guys.
Come here. Please, sir, release her. Please, sir, release her. You think I'm so ugly? What are you talking about?
I think you think I'm so ugly.
What are you talking about, girl?
I say you think I'm so ugly.
Are you dumb? Stupid or dumb?
We don't promote that.
Let's get started.
You're the best thing ever.
What?
You're the best thing ever.
That's all you. Let me tell you that once. Let me tell you that twice.
Tell it to me thrice. That's the thing.
The math says mathing. Let's go to the movies. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna start it over because this was too much rubbish.
It's not about the rubbish.